If you've been married for 40 years and still find yourself unsure of how or where to truly touch your wife, let me reassure you, you're not the only one. Plenty of men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond are still learning, not because they lack love, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because no one ever taught them what a woman's body genuinely needs as it changes with time. Now, recent studies suggest something surprising. The places you were once told to focus on, like the clitoris, might no longer be the priority. And what's even more eye-opening, there are certain areas that many women would rather you not touch at all, not because those areas are unpleasant, but because over time, they may become too sensitive, uncomfortable, or simply less enjoyable. If you value honest, respectful advice backed by research, consider subscribing now. And turn on the bell, because this kind of conversation can truly transform your relationship. Now, recent studies suggest something surprising. The places you were once told to focus on, like the clitoris, might no longer be the priority. And what's even more eye-opening, there are certain areas that many women would rather you not touch at all, not because those areas are unpleasant, but because over time, they may become too sensitive, uncomfortable, or simply less enjoyable. In this video, I'll walk you through 3 specific places that women over 50 do want to be touched, and 3 that are best avoided. More importantly, I'll show you how to apply this information in real life to rebuild trust, connection, and even desire, no matter how long it's been. So stick around, because later in the video, I'll uncover the most misunderstood spot of all, one that men often think is a guaranteed turn-on, but women, many quietly dread it. You don't want to miss that. But first, if this kind of intimacy-based insight speaks to you and you're looking for straightforward, evidence-based tips on aging, connection, and touch, let's start with the places that matter most, not just physically, but emotionally too. Based on research with hundreds of women in midlife and beyond, we now have a clearer understanding of where touch creates connection, not pressure. 1. The entrance of the vagina. This might come as a surprise to some, but for many older women, the entrance of the vagina is one of the most emotionally charged and physically responsive places on their body. This isn't about deep movement or speed. It's about being present, moving slowly, and offering intentional touch in a place that represents both openness and trust. Over the years, I've heard many women say that this spot, when approached gently, made them feel noticed, cherished, and safe. It's a place that holds memory, meaning, and for some, even healing, especially for women who have experienced childbirth, menopause, or medical challenges. This area may carry sensitivity, both physically and emotionally. Handled roughly, it can feel invasive. Handled tenderly, it can create a level of closeness that's deeply profound. It's not just a way in. It's a meaningful space in and of itself. Light circular motions, soft contact using your palm or fingertips, paired with loving eye contact or an affirming word. That combination can shift the entire tone of intimacy. Men are often taught that passion comes from urgency, but more often, women over 50 are looking for a signal that says, I'm here, I'm tuned in, I'm in no hurry. This kind of touch doesn't need to be technical. It just needs to be intentional. And when it is, it opens the door to real connection. Now, the next area women prefer might be even more unexpected. In fact, most men overlook it completely. 2. The area around the urethral opening. This is one of the most forgotten, yet incredibly sensitive places on a woman's body. Not because it's unimportant, but because very few people know how much it actually matters. The area around the urethral opening, which sits just above the vaginal entrance and beneath the clitoris, is a subtle yet powerful zone. It's not often discussed in books, conversations, or even in clinical spaces. But women describe it as delicate, responsive, and capable of creating a deep sensory experience. I remember a patient, a woman in her late 60s, telling me this with a quiet smile. It's not somewhere I would have thought to talk about, but when my husband touches that spot, slowly, gently, it feels electric, not like fireworks, more like a steady pulse that stays with me. That story stayed with me. And over the years, I've heard echoes of that same message again and again. This particular area responds best to the lightest kind of touch. It's not about pressure, not about rubbing. In fact, the softer, the better. Using just your fingertips, or even simply placing a warm hand near the area, can create an unexpectedly deep connection. There's something intimate about not rushing, not pushing, just being there. The skin is delicate. The nerves sit close to the surface. And for many women, being touched here isn't just physical, it's emotional. It makes them feel noticed, valued, seen, especially for couples in later years, when skin can be more sensitive and dryness more common. This kind of gentle, intentional touch can bring everything back into focus. It's a silent message that says, I'm not just here for the usual, I'm here for you, every part of you. And very often, it's these neglected, quiet places that help women feel most loved. But we're not done. There's still one last place we need to talk about. It's hidden a little deeper, but it carries more emotional significance than many realize. It's not only a place of pleasure, it's where trust lives. If you stayed with me this far, it shows you care, and that matters more than you know. If this is resonating with you, type 1 in the comments and hit the like button. That small action helps this message reach other couples who need to hear it too. Let's talk about that final area now. Inner vaginal wall, upper front, also known as the G-spot area. This last spot isn't always simple to find, but when approached thoughtfully, it can spark a bond that's both sensual and emotional. The inner vaginal wall, specifically the upper front section, what's often called a G-spot, isn't just about sexual stimulation. For many women, especially in long-term relationships, it represents trust. It's about being touched with awareness, care, and respect. One couple, both in their 70s, once came to me feeling unsure their intimacy had simply faded with age. When we explored their physical connection, the wife confessed she never enjoyed rough or deep movements. What she did long for, she said, was slow, consistent pressure right against that inner wall. The kind that made her feel understood, not just touched. It doesn't feel like sparks, she told me. It's like a slow, steady warmth that fills the entire space around me. That inner front wall, just 1 or 2 inches inside, tilted upward toward the belly, reacts. Best to soft, rhythmic pressure. Not fast, not forceful, just steady and intentional. It's not about reaching some high or chasing a climax. It's about creating a space of comfort, attention, and deep presence. And for older couples, especially when there are physical limits or medical concerns, this kind of connection can feel even more meaningful. It communicates something powerful. I've learned your body. I'm still learning. And I'm loving every part of it. And then men often ask me, how will I know when I found it? How do you know you found it? My answer is simple. You'll know, not by what she says, but by what her body tells you, how her breath changes, how she leans into you instead of away. It's often not in the moans. It's in the quiet, the stillness, the softness that follows. Now let's shift gears. Because for every place that welcomes your touch, there are others that speak a quiet, sometimes painful, please don't. And understanding that difference, that might be what creates the deepest level of emotional safety between you and your partner. Now that we've looked at where women want to be touched, those zones of closeness, connection, and calm, it's just as vital to talk about where not to go. Because no matter how many years you've been together, there are places on a woman's body that, when touched without consent or awareness, can stir up discomfort or even distress. And here's the part that surprises many men. These are often not the places you'd expect. Some are areas you might assume are always okay. But women's bodies change with time, life experience, and age, and that means assumptions can no longer guide your actions. Let's go over 3 specific areas that women over 50 often prefer not to be touched, and why steering clear of these may actually bring you closer. 1. The anus. This is probably the most misunderstood zone in all of intimacy. Modern media might suggest it's just another erogenous area, but for many women, especially past 50, that idea doesn't align with reality. In fact, according to recent studies, the anus ranked highest on the list of areas women don't want touched. And it's not just a physical issue, it's emotional, psychological, personal. Over time, I've spoken with many women who shared that any surprise contact around this area didn't create curiosity, it created tension. Some describe anxiety. Others recall feelings of shame or powerlessness. And especially for women with past trauma, surgeries, or medical sensitivities, this zone is not one of pleasure, but one of protection. One woman in her late 60s put it like this: "It's not that I don't love my husband, I just wish he'd pause and ask, or maybe notice how I pull back instead of assuming I'm okay with it." That's honesty, that's vulnerability, and it's something many women wish they could say without worrying they'll hurt their partner's pride. So here's the takeaway: respect isn't optional. If you're ever unsure, ask gently. If she says no, believe her and leave it there. No persuasion, no disappointment. Because true intimacy isn't about pushing through discomfort. It's about honoring where the line is drawn. And paradoxically, when a woman knows you won't cross those lines, that's exactly when she feels safe enough to open up more than ever before. 2. The cervix. This one often catches men off guard. The cervix is sometimes mythologized as a place of deep, earth-shaking pleasure, but for many women, particularly those over 50, that's far from true. In the same study we referenced, the cervix was named again and again as an area women preferred not to have touched during intimacy. Here's what's often misunderstood: the cervix isn't some deeper is better zone. It's the end point of the vaginal canal, and it's highly sensitive. When touched too forcefully or unexpectedly, it can feel uncomfortable, even painful. And for women who've gone through menopause, experienced childbirth, or had gynecological treatments, that sensitivity can be even more intense. I remember one woman in her early 70s who shared something deeply telling. She said that whenever her husband tried to go as deep as possible, she instinctively braced herself, not out of fear, but because she was preparing for a sensation she couldn't quite explain. Something not quite right, something that didn't feel good. So again, the message is clear. Deeper doesn't mean better. Presence means better. Listening means better. Is this making sense to you? Type 1 if this resonates, or 0 if there's something else you'd like us to talk about. We read every comment, and your feedback helps us shape the next video. She didn't want to bruise his confidence, but deep down, she silently wished he just knew that what he was doing didn't feel good. And this is where true intimacy begins, not with performance, but with awareness, with listening, with slowing down. Sometimes, all it takes is a softer rhythm, a gentler depth, and a simple check-in like, "Is this feeling okay?" That kind of moment can completely shift the experience for both of you. Because for many women, especially as they age, it's not about more pressure or more excitement. It's about more attentiveness. If you're a man in your 60s or 70s hoping to reignite real intimacy, here's something powerful. To remember, knowing where not to touch can matter just as much as knowing where to go. And when you respect those boundaries, when your partner feels safe from assumptions, something profound opens up: trust, comfort, emotional safety. Now, the next place may truly surprise you. It's an area many men reach for without hesitation. But for some women, especially later in life. That kind of touch can feel overstimulating, even uncomfortable. Let's break it down. 3. The nipples. You might not expect this one, but for many women, especially over 50 or 60, the nipples can become a complex zone. For decades, we've heard that the nipples are one of the most arousing areas of a woman's body. And yes, for many women, that's still true. But what often goes unspoken is this. For others, especially postmenopause, that sensitivity can shift dramatically. Hormonal changes that occur with age can alter how breast tissue and nipple nerves respond. What once sparked pleasure might now feel overwhelming or even painful when touched too quickly or without warning. Yet many men still go straight for this area, assuming it's always welcome, always a yes. I remember one woman in her late 60s sharing this during a quiet conversation. I love that my husband still finds me attractive, but sometimes when he reaches straight for my chest, I wish he'd pause and just ask. When he does, I feel like he sees me, not just my body. That comment stayed with me, because the truth is, it's not always about avoiding the nipples entirely. It's about your approach. This area is incredibly sensitive, and sensitivity can shift from day to day, depending on emotional state, hormones, or even medications. Some days, a soft touch might feel comforting. Other days, even the same gesture might feel overstimulating. There's no one-size-fits-all here. So how do you get it right? Presence, noticing her reactions, watching how she breathes, feeling how she leans in or pulls away, and sometimes all you need is a quiet check-in. Is this okay tonight? That single moment of care tells her you're not just touching her, you're noticing her, you're learning her. Still, even after all this time, and that more than any technique or trick is what builds lasting intimacy. A reminder for men who still want connection. If you're still here, still reading or watching, that says a lot about you. It tells me you care not just about the physical side of your relationship, but about the emotional side too, about closeness, presence, patience, being the kind of partner who still wants to learn and love in ways that matter more than ever. And if no one's told you this recently, let me be the one. That matters. You matter. The desire to stay connected, to keep learning, to love more slowly and more fully as the years go by, that's something to feel proud of. So many men in their 60s, 70s, even into their 80s have come to me with the same quiet concern. Have I missed my chance? Their bodies have changed. Intimacy feels distant, maybe even awkward, and what once came naturally now feels unfamiliar. They're unsure where to start, or if it's even possible to begin again. Here's what I always tell them, and what I want to tell you right now: it's never too late, not just to reconnect with your partner, but to reconnect with yourself, with that part of you that still wants to show up, to give love, to feel love. Intimacy in this chapter of life looks different, and that's not a bad thing. It's not about performance. It's about being present. It's about making your partner feel truly safe, truly seen and valued, not just for her body, but for the depth of who she is. And when you lead with that kind of intention, something changes. She begins to trust again. The tension eases, walls lower, and in that space, something powerful and intimate begins to bloom. So please, don't give up. Don't assume the best moments are behind you, because sometimes the most meaningful parts of love aren't in the fire of the beginning, but in the warm, quiet strength that grows over time. Final thought. Before we close, I want to leave you with one final truth. Something simple, but worth remembering. Intimacy doesn't disappear with age. It evolves. And that evolution is an invitation to pause, to pay closer attention, to listen more gently than ever before. Because in this stage of life, what matters most isn't your experience or your memory of what used to work. What matters is how present you're willing to be right now with the woman you love. A quick recap. We talk about the 3 areas women tend to welcome most: the entrance of the vagina, the area around the urethral opening, and the intervaginal wall. When touched slowly and thoughtfully, these zones can spark connection in ways you may not have felt in years. We've also explored the areas many women wish their partners would avoid, at least without clear communication: the anus, the cervix, and, for some, the nipples, not because they're closed off to intimacy, but because their bodies are asking for a different kind of touch now, one that's softer, more mindful, more tuned in. So maybe this season of life isn't about reviving what once was. Maybe it's about building something new, a kind of closeness that isn't driven by habit, but by curiosity. That's not rushed or repetitive, but refreshed by real understanding. I've watched countless couples rediscover each other through this shift, that beautiful moment when one partner slows down and listens, really listens, and suddenly everything starts to change. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's real. So if you're still craving connection, if you're still hoping for her to open up just a little more, know this: it doesn't start with your hands. It starts with your attention, with the willingness to check in, to ask, to learn her again, not just physically, but emotionally, to care in a way that says, "I see you, I still want you." That kind of care, that's the kind of touch that never fades. That's the kind of love that lasts. If this spoke to something real inside you, hit subscribe. We talk about love, intimacy, and connection, the things that truly matter, because real men keep learning, and real love keeps growing.